So here's a little picture of our dim-witted Straw Hat Luffy. Certainly, if you like this type of drawing and more, remember to follow me on the Google+, the Facebook, the Twitter, and even the Instagram.
One Piece, Chapter 199, Hope.
What do you mean, Hope?
Oh boy, it's getting so good. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and the excellent and the action-packed gripping tale of One Piece. Our last chapter, of course, saw us at the end of the chapter seeing Luffy appear on Pell and, just kind of like, Crocodile! And Croc was even like, huh? Straw Hat, And Vivi, of course, as she's falling, she's like, Luffy! So that's where the chapter left off. Was excited to see Luffy again. And it's so funny because I watch the anime with my wife and my 3 children. And and my 6-year-old actually is really excited. Whenever he comes down here, he's always like wanting to look through some of the volumes and stuff to see what's going on, what's going to happen, and look at some of the pictures. And everybody's like, and it sucks because like I still want to keep that level of surprise for them that I have going into it. So like I'm so far ahead, but I'm just like, just wait until you see what happens in the next arc. It's really cool. So it's definitely a neat experience. But so this back to the actual review over here. So that's how the chapter left off. Of course, the chapter picks up right where it left off, and it's really kind of cool because Vivi is just sort of at that point where she's just battered and broken, and her will has almost been broken. It seems like she's falling. And Pell just kind of comes swooping in, and of course Luffy is able to grab her, and in one fell swoop, he's like, "Gotcha! I'm glad I made it here in time," And it's, just so profound, just some of the things that he says and how he says them, and how they can really just kind of put you at ease, at least me anyway. Sometimes when he talks, I just feel like I'm wrapped up in a warm, comfortable blanket because Luffy said, "It's going to be all right, Jim." And it really truly is. I'm not making fun of it at all. That's how I feel because I know what his resolve is, and I know how he will die before he goes against what he said he was going to do. He's going to complete his tasks. So it's really kind of cool because Vivi is she's just like, oh God, and she's all upset, and she's just like, oh, everybody's there, they can't hear me, and they're all going to die, and she's trying to explain, there's going to be this explosion, and everybody's going to die, and Luffy's like, don't worry, I can hear you. And it's really kind of cool because he's just sort of got like the big Luffy smile, on his face and everything like that. And it's just such a simple-minded way of thinking. And honestly, I didn't have much respect for him until around the Baratier arc when he wound up just straight up like punching through with the bullet, the gum bullet, right through the spiked cape, and just at his own detriment, man, just wound up having to nail Don Krieg to show him that I am better, I am stronger. Up until that point, I just kind of thought he was sort of like a bumbling idiot, and I was like, oh my God. But the character for me has developed and started to come into his own because although he's very simple-minded in many of the ways that he can think and act, his actions are still very, 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 very good. They're actions that try to not only further his cause, but they're actions that always go to help others. I mean, they don't even need to be in Alabasta right now, and if it wasn't for Luffy making that decision, they wouldn't be in Alabasta right now. So I definitely think it's kind of cool how he comforts her and he just kind of is like, hey, it's all right. I can hear you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of this. So they go and they land and everything like that. Pell goes and lands. They're a little bit away from Crocodile now, obviously. And it's kind of cool because as they do, and Luffy's like, I'm going to go take him out, and I'm going to go kick Crocodile's ass, And then you wind up going and seeing a few pages of kind of like the meeting of everybody coming back together, All of a sudden, Chopper comes up and he's like, Luffy, you're alive, And Usopp's like, yeah, you're alive. And we wind up seeing then shortly, and of course we see Sanji and and Eyelashes, the camel. But then we go in, and right after that, Zoro and Nami walk up, and it was funny because prior to that there was this page where it was like you just knew it was them. And Zoro, of course, has lost all this blood from his fight with Mr. One. He's all fucked up. He's talking about how he's gonna be faint. He needs help. and she's telling about how she needs help walking because she's injured. And he's just like, are you kidding me? Because she got hit in the foot, in the ankle or whatever from Miss Doublefinger. But anyway, we wind up seeing them show up, whatever. And what does she do? She takes Usopp in his full body cast and just whap, just lays him out. And he's like, what the hell? And she's like, you almost got me killed, this stupid weapon. I asked for a weapon, not a damn party favor. And Usopp's like, well, yeah, but you figured it out, right? And it was just so funny, the exchange between all of them, I thought. So very, very cool stuff as far as, just everybody getting back together and just kind of seeing the old gang and the crew come back together. Because you remember, they've been separated now for several chapters. Nobody's seen Luffy in, a couple of volumes here, 18, 20 chapters. So it's kind of cool. We see all of them come back together. Sanji's like, oh, Nami, you're hurt. Who hurt Nami? And just the usual little quirks that they all have. And then Zoro, even like when Nami gets nails, he's like, I thought you were injured. I thought you couldn't walk, when she gets up and nails Usopp. So it is very funny, how everything's put together. So Luffy's like, all right, don't worry about it. I'm going to go take care of Crocodile, okay? I lost to him out in the desert, but don't worry about it. I got him now, right? He ate plenty of meat. He's good to go. And everybody's like, Luffy! And it's really kind of cool because I look at it as almost like this, this Braveheart type moment, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, everybody's going to follow William Wallace, into death or whatever it may be. But really just kind of he's this great strong leader. And so then he's like, and then the next part of the chapter is really cool because it's him going and stretching himself out to kind of swing up on that wall to get back up to the actual palace where Crocodile's standing on the precipice of the palace. And a lot of peas there, Perry the Platypus. And he's just like, yeah, come at me, Straw Hat. Don't worry. Try to hit me. Go ahead. And he's going to turn into sand or whatever, right? Well, Luffy goes and you see this picture of him as he's flying up, and you see that he has a barrel of water. It looks like, I can only assume it's water on his back. And it goes back to what I had said when he was originally fighting out in the desert, and when they showed how Luffy rehydrated, and then he was actually able to grab onto Croc's arm. I figured that it had something to do with water. Even though he can suck all the water out of things, it's not something, it is also his weakness, So I'm definitely happy that I figured out that little mystery and hit the nail on the head, Not like it was that difficult because they did kind of make it obvious, but, hey, whatever. I'm getting old, sometimes these things pass me by. So he winds up going, and as he's, flying up towards him, and Crocodile's just like, yeah, go ahead, take a swing at me, buddy. I'll just turn into sand and be done with it, Luffy goes and muscles up and hydrates up with some water. He's got some water going and dripping down his arm and whatnot, and he just whap, just nails Croc. And it's great because you get to see this double page spread of Croc just like with his head turned to the side, blood splattering out of his nose and mouth because Luffy just actually connected with him and just landed a nice solid blow on him, So Croc goes and, he flies back and lands on the ground or whatever. And King Cobra's up there pinned to the wall like, what the hell's going on? Is my daughter alive? Who is this fucking guy, And Luffy's like, don't worry, I muscled up, I ate plenty of meat. And then he goes and he goes and just describes, to him during this part, or maybe it's after he does his next move, but he describes what I just said, that he noticed in the desert that obviously he could only hit Croc. That's why Croc came, and his whole deal was to steal all the rain anyway from Alabasta because of the desert climate as it is, and then of course causing these droughts and this lack of water everywhere. It would make him that much more powerful. It would be that much harder for anybody to ever oppose him or go against him, and it'd be a great place for him to go and make his country and his place because he'd be ultimately supreme and strong there, the strongest, right? Nobody can take him out if there's no water, or very little anyway. So definitely kind of a cool plan to see come to fruition with that, but ultimately kind of cool to see Luffy go and figure it out and be like, yeah, so now I got your number, mother, And that's what he does. So he stretches out his arms and grabs Croc, right, as Croc goes and sits up or whatever, and then he's like, gum, and it's kind of cool because you go and you see this series of panels where, like, Croc's just kind of like, what the, did he really just hit me, He's like, his cigar was crunched up, knocked out of his mouth, he's kind of like, did this little punk actually just hit me? So then Luffy goes and he pulls out a new move, or at least I don't remember seeing it before, and Luffy starts, as he's got his arm stretched out to Croc, he goes and starts spinning himself, right, and he goes and he does gum, buzzsaw, and he comes in and whap, just nails Croc, right? And knocks him back. And it's great because Luffy's like, yeah, get up and fight me, and he's taunting him at this point. And just very, very cool how it's portrayed. And it was a nice build-up because this has been certainly the longest story arc that I have seen thus far. And from what I've heard, it is one of the longer ones anyway, just in One Piece in general. And there's been a lot of build-up to it. Croc, we saw a while ago. I mean, we were first introduced to him, a long time ago. But I mean, this is, 40, 50 chapters into this arc.
And he really did. I mean, he made Luffy look like a piece of garbage when they fought in the desert 25 chapters ago. And even prior to that, when Vivi tried attacking him and you could see he could turn into sand, you were thinking, this guy is going to be some trouble, you know? And so it's really kind of cool. For me, this is the turning point. And actually, the chapter itself is called Hope. But this chapter is the turning point. It's making you finally believe that, yeah, sure, when you saw the pair-offs and the fightings between the Baroque Works agents and the Straw Hats, you were like, yeah, they're taking out the underlings. But ultimately, man, you know, anybody who knows anything about war, you really do. You have to take out the general. You got to cut the head off the snake, you know? And that is what you have to do. So if they were not able to defeat Crocodile, I just don't see the outcome going their way at all, you know. So this was definitely for me a very, very good turning point in the story. And let me know, though, that's my chapter question. Do you believe that this is a turning point? Obviously, Luffy finding a weakness for Crocodile, exploiting that weakness, and then really just kind of, you know, taunting him and just sort of flexing his muscles, so to speak, and being like, hey, buddy, you got me back out in the desert when we were on your terms and your turf, but now how about I even the odds to where I can actually nail you, and now let's see who's stronger, because he's like, now I'm going to pound on you. I'm going to kick your ass, you know what I mean? He's going to go crazy-ass Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy style on him. And I really thought that was very, very cool. So, again, I could be way off base for all I know. You know, Crocodile will be able to thwart him again and everything else. If it's a spoiler, you know, you don't have to answer the question. But my question again is just, do you think, or did you think when you were reading it at this point, approaching chapter 200 will be the next one here, did you think that this was the turning point in this particular arc, and for the Straw Hats and Luffy in particular being able to actually connect with and hit Crocodile? So, and I mean connect and actually bust him in the face, not like connect with like, hey, let's be buddies. We have similar, you know, traits and interests. So remember, feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button for me if you think that I deserve it, of course. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation. This is what happened to the last person that didn't subscribe. Luffy will come get ya. Luffy don't play no games.